I assume we're recording.
I hope so.
I do too. I hope you I hope you hit record before you muted. So you guys ready? You ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, why not? I'm just driving
All
in
right.
traffic, so.
Sweet. I love it. Well. What's up, y'all? My name is Vince Chapman. I am joined by my co-host this week. Representing Team Mystic is Jimmy Bones.
Hello.
And our guest this week is none other than Nathan Hardesty.
Hello.
And I don't know what team he represents, but I represent Team Valor. Welcome to another episode of Join the Rivalry podcast that we do through CrossForge Gaming. Let's start it off under their umbrella. Sure. Anyway, let's start off some chit chat. Jimmy, what you been up to?
Work, same as always. I'm at this very moment stuck in traffic in what I believe is part of Cleveland, but I could be wrong because all of Ohio looks exactly the same.
Perfect.
Well, I mean, there's construction everywhere. The roads are junk. There's too much traffic and fat people eating cheese. So
don't forget all the corn.
Yes.
No, I'm not a lot of corn right here. Yeah, a lot of snow though. No, I'm actually the only thing I've really been up to is saving as much money as possible for my my new house that's supposed to have been picked up by now, but the surveyor's taking his sweet time, and now the bureaucracies of the state of Tennessee and the county of Marion and the city of Jasper and all that jazz, they're holding me up with their little signatures and what have you. So all I'm doing is busting my butt. I haven't been home in since December. And I'm tired, but I can't go home until it's time to start clearing my property and build my house. So basically, I'm up, work, sleep, up, work, sleep. That's all I do. And in the middle, I in between the work and the sleep, a lot of cartoons on my DVR. That's about it.
Sweet. Well, Nathan, what have you been up to? Tell us a little bit about yourself. This is the first time I think we've met you.
Hi, my name is Nathan. I'm an alcoholic. No, I'm kidding.
That is so not funny.
I
have to go out back.
I'm sorry. I start every introduction off with that. I do that in any one of my classes whenever they make us like stand up and introduce ourselves.
Yeah. That's a great icebreaker, but it's not funny.
I'm sorry. But I never claimed to be funny.
Oh, good.
This is true. Good observation.
But coincidentally, I am on Team Instinct, so I fill that gap.
Bummer.
But mostly,
I know, right?
Mostly just been up to school lately. I finally got past my my core classes, so I've been working on my classes, just working towards my degree, which are all like programming and that sort of thing. So it's definitely a new thing that I haven't done a lot of yet. I'm used to just like the basic English and math and all that garbage, and so it's finally a new realm of learning that I haven't exactly been able to experience yet. So I'm enjoying it.
What's the degree you're working towards?
Computer programming.
Any particular discipline? Java, C++, HTML, Basic?
I'm going into Java right now. Coincidentally, like they make me take a web design course where I learn HTML, which I didn't really want to do, but I ended up enjoying that more than the Java class.
I love HTML, like the original HTML, not the stuff with like the CSS and everything like that. That's way too complicated. I just like HTML/HTML, and then all the stuff in between, like back in the glory days of Windows 95. Netscape Navigator. Yeah. But it's kind of important because a lot of these programs that people are writing now, they actually utilize a lot of HTML in their GUIs. So you might find it a lot more interesting and more useful than you might have otherwise thought to begin with.
Yeah, that's I think the first reason that I took Java was because I heard people say that it was made because like the guy that designed Java took the C# class, I think it was, and then he thought it was too hard, so he decided to design his own language. But then everybody I talked to that has taken both C# and Java say that C# is way easier just because of the syntax.
I agree, honestly. But
Nice. Awesome.
what school are you going to?
It's Central Georgia Tech. It's basically just a small kind of community college. Just mostly, I wanted to get my associates out of the way so that I could get like an IT job, and then finish my bachelor's.
Sounds like a blast, man.
Oh,
I went to a technical college in Georgia myself, Ultima Tech in Baxley, Georgia. It's a good little state system they have there.
Yeah, a lot of them are just connected through different programs, and I think it's neat because you can just jump around between a lot of the schools, and it's a lot easier than some of the other stuff that I've been in because I went to college in another state for about a year, and just hearing about the programs that connect all the other colleges, Georgia has a decently better one.
Right, I love the Georgia school system. You've only been to one college though, right? Besides this one?
Yeah, it was Southwestern Illinois College in Illinois. Whenever my dad worked for the VA, and so we lived up in Belleville, Illinois, for about a year, and I went up there.
Yeah, I can't count on one hand how many colleges I've been to. And, well, no, seriously, because when I get bored, even when I'm working, I tend to say, okay, well, I guess I might as well learn something new in case I need another job somewhere, right? So, me, myself, and I've been to Santa Fe Community College in Gainesville, Florida. I've been to the University of Florida, the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California, College USA in Denver, Colorado, Ultima Technical College in Baxley, Georgia, Bethel University in McKenzie, Tennessee, and a handful of others. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm probably the most overqualified trucker you're ever gonna meet.
That's pretty neat, though. I think it's a good policy to go by. Whenever you just start getting bored, you're just thinking, I'd learn something new.
It's either that or waste my money on World of Warcraft.
I think you've chosen wisely.
I don't know, man. It hasn't helped me get another job. I've been having to run my own damn business, and it's as fun as it is. As much time and as much out of pocket expenses as I have put into my schooling, it's kind of depressing that I'm only making $250,000 a year. So I figured by now I should at least be like the CEO of some mid-sized company somewhere.
You just start your own company.
Yeah,
you can be the CEO of that.
Well, I own my own company, and I am the president, owner, CEO, all that jazz, but there's only 2 employees, myself and one other. It's awful hard to be CEO of one guy, yeah?
Yeah, true, I guess.
Yes.
Anyway. Hey, let's turn the corner and talk a little Pokemon.
You haven't told us about what's going on with you yet, Vinny.
With me. There is not a whole lot going on with me this week. If I can steal your saying again this week, I'm kind of boring. There's just we got all moved into our house, kind of getting back into a rhythm of normal life now that the kids are all used to the new rooms and new place of living and whatnot. The first couple nights were a little difficult, but hey, let them cry it out, right? That's kind of what we had to do.
I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, it was difficult, but if you put them I find if you put them in the other room and then turn the monitors off, it's infinitely easier. Anyway, that was a joke.
Well, I honestly I agree with that, except in that I never bothered with monitors at all because I figured if they really wanted my attention, I'd get it.
There you go. So anyway, not much else going on in my life. Working and training for American Ninja Warrior, all that jazz. Anyway, so that's what's going on with me. Nothing new. So with that, let's turn the corner. Let's start talking about some Pokemon. I think this time, unless I'm interrupted again. Apparently, there was a update that we missed that we didn't talk about, is what I'm told.
It was last week, yeah.
Last week?
Like 2 days before.
Did it?
It was either last week or the week before that. It was so low key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just a patch, wasn't it? Just patching some issues and whatnot.
Well, they fixed a lot of the roaming GPS issue. Like, you can't just set your phone down inside a building and then walk 3 miles. They changed some of the Apple Watch doodads, which I own an Apple Watch, and I tried using it. And let me tell you, man, if you think that Pokemon eats your battery in the phone, that just absolutely devours your watch battery. And it gets your watch really hot. So all in all, I think while it's a neat idea, they should probably just go ahead and scrap that whole thing.
Interesting.
Somebody sneezing.
I don't know what I think. Anyway, apparently in the data miners have caught some interesting things in this update, which would suggest that Gen 2 release is almost upon us. There is apparently 38 new moves that have been added. A large number are specific to Gen 2 Pokemon. They're specifically learned by those Pokemon. Moves like Iron Tail, Hex, Slash, things like that. Crunch, Zap Cannon. This would imply that Gen 2. This would obviously imply that Gen 2 is on its way. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Let me go ahead and interject there with, we already knew it was imminent because the plan had always been May of this year.
Oh, absolutely. But I think this suggests it's a little closer than we might think.
Possibly. That article that Patrick shared us a couple of days back talking about the new evolutions, Espeon and Umbreon, do you happen to know if that was conjecture or was that verified?
I don't have any idea.
So, for those of you who don't know, the conjecture is that they're going to actually have the 2 Gen 2 evolutions come out, if I read the article correctly, before the onset of the remainder of the Gen 2 Pokemon. And this will be the first introduction of special evolution conditions, which I am not fond of, that would basically require you to build the friendship stat with it by walking around with it. And then only evolving it a specific period of time during the day. Me, myself, and I, because I still have probably another 250k to walk to get my Gyarados, I have no interest whatsoever in taking my Magikarp out of my buddy slot just to create a new evolution. So I'm a little ticked about that, and a little ticked about what that implies moving forward with all the other special evolution condition Pokemons from the game being added to Pokemon Go. So I'm not really happy about that. I'm hoping that article that was shared with us was in error, but who knows?
Yeah, I've never really been fond of special evolutions myself, just because even the 3 different kinds of evolutions that they first started out with, I was always annoyed about because I kept getting the same one. Because there was that one trick that they mentioned where you name them a certain thing and it's supposed to automatically evolve them. Like what was it?
Yeah, you do. I think it was, if you wanted Flareon, I think you did Pyro. I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
But I used that for the Jolteon, but then I tried naming them. I think it was Rainer and Pyro for the other 2, but I just kept getting Jolteons.
Well, the thing about that is, as soon as it hit the internet, they patched it and it didn't work anymore. So,
that's lame.
Hey, Otter, if you can mark down this point real quick. Vince, I don't know if Nate hears it too, but you seem kind of staticky on your end right now.
Who, me?
Yeah, you got kind of a
Oh,
weird
awesome.
staticky echo. A little baffled, maybe.
I can't really hear. I don't think.
Or maybe it's just me then. Anyway, moving on.
Interesting. Anyway, yeah. So
Is there?
evolutions. Yep.
If there is a
Okay.
Gen 2, more coming out soon. I just hope they do the starters, because Totodile has been a long time favorite of mine.
Oh yeah, Waninoka. Yeah, the the Gen 2 stuff is interesting and all. We all know that it's coming,
Hmm.
but we also know what is actually here as of yesterday. There's the Valentine's Day event, which should make a lot of people happy. Actually, from what I understand, it doubles the amount of candy that you get when you capture a Pokemon, and certain cutesy wootsy Pokemon are going to be a lot more readily available. Now, that would mean, I believe they specifically said pink Pokemon, so your Jigglypuffs and your Clefairies, and the pre-evolutions would be more frequent in the egg drops, but that also included Lickitung, which I need a Lickitung. I don't have it, but I have ground my way out to get my Clefable and my Wigglytuff, so I don't need those as much. But on top of that, was it lures and incense, or is it just lures?
I believe it's
They
just
last,
lures.
yeah, they last instead of 30 minutes now. They last 6 hours at a pop, and this all ends on what the 12th? No, when is it? When does it end? I don't remember.
So
This
event
event.
runs from 11 a.m. February 8th through 11 a.m. on February 15th, Pacific time.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
right after Valentine's Day.
So it's right after Valentine's Day it ends. Right.
All right, so the event ends on my anniversary. Good job there, Pokemon. I guess I better completely ignore Valentine's Day and just hunt them Pokemon down and tell my wife she's gonna have to wait until the next day.
Mhm. Hey, good luck with that.
Yeah, I know, right? Um, but you know, events and new things in Pokemon Go aside, Pokemon at large has been adding a lot of new and interesting twists to its setup. For instance, the Pokemon anime. Team Rocket finally legitimately beat Ash and Company.
I saw
Yes.
that.
Yeah, isn't it
And it's about
interesting?
time.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, Jesse and James are a couple of punks, but Meowth deserves a win. That's all I'm saying.
I think the best part about that was that they themselves were amazed. Like, they just kind of went into it not really expecting to win, and they're just like, "Oh wait, what? We won? What?"
I'm trying to tell you, man,
Is this
Mimikyu is
real
a
life?
beast. Okay, it's absolutely nasty. It's. I mean, in the game, it's okay. In the show, it's vicious. I mean, it is. What was it that I said the other day that I read about him? Oh man, I'm gonna have to. I'll look it up later. But there's a lot of people saying, just some awful things about Mimikyu. I mean, not awful as in they're insulting it, but awful as in they're describing his character in the show, and like he's a unbridled being of pure hatred and malice. And I'm just thinking, it's nice to see something like that actually represented in that cutesy anime that hasn't really been all that vicious, not since like the original Mewtwo tearing up everybody and turning him to stone and stuff.
Oh yeah,
So
the
Hmm.
because especially they didn't translate it from the manga a lot. With I remember reading some of the manga where I think it was Gary Oak ended up like straight up just killing an Arbok because it was just in his way. So he's like, "Oh no, get out of here!" Just murders it,
yeah,
and
I mean that
it's
seems in character. He's kind of a douche.
but it is just the manga's a lot more brutal from what I read, because in the show it's just I've always wondered that, where it's just you beat somebody at a Pokemon battle, they're like, "Oh man, we gotta get out of here," but in the manga they're like, "No, we're gonna beat the Pokemon to death because that's what we're gonna do."
That's not unusual though. Seeing the level of hardcore uh, from manga and anime overseas before it comes over here. I mean,
Right.
here's one. Here's one that everybody knows. At least everybody from my generation. Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon. Shoujo Senshi Sailor Moon. It's it's a cutesy cartoon, and everybody thinks it's so super girly. But if you read the original manga, that is one of the most violent comics I have ever read. And I grew up reading 80s X-Men, where they would routinely brutalize people. Sailor Moon is just vicious. Takeuchi Naoko was, I mean, there's something wrong with her. Something snaps in her head.
Yeah, I would never have thought of that. Just based on the show, like you said, they just make it really cutesy. I never would have.
Well, the English adaptation, I mean, they cut out several episodes, first of all,
Really?
because of content, and then they altered a lot of it because of content. Like if you go into the later series is after was it the Sailor Stars show up, which is like, I don't know, 7th or 8th story arc after the original. Um, the original characters in Japan are pop idol dudes who become women when they transform. Like they don't just like cross dress; they actually do a run on one half sort of deal.
Oh.
And in what was it in the American version? I think they were always girls to begin with, and they cut out the very close to lesbian scenes between Jupiter and not Jupiter, Uranus and Neptune, I think.
Oh, I remember hearing about that where they changed it to them just being like really close cousins or something like that.
Well, they had to because in the States and in most Western viewpoints, it looked very close to a lesbian relationship, which in fact it was not. But it was one of those ones that was real borderline for the censors. So they went ahead and just said, yeah, they're gaying it up over there, so we're going to change it. It's not unusual. It's not unusual at all. For cartoons to change dramatically when they come to the States. Like, I was telling some folk the other day, I just watched through the entire series of ReZero.
Such a good show.
Mhm.
Oh, it is. It
Yep.
is. And I can't get off point here. They have two versions of it. They have the original cut, and then they have the cut that they subtitled and released to the West. The
Huh.
original cut, I think I'd be more comfortable watching Freddy Krueger, honestly, because
Wow.
they are just
No kidding.
absolutely vicious, just absolutely vicious. I mean, we're talking like beyond Ninja Scroll here, with just the mutilations and the destruction, and it was absolutely brilliant. I love it, but um,
I wasn't
it's
even
jarring. I wasn't expecting that sort of bloodshed when I started watching the show.
I wasn't even aware that there was another cut.
Oh yeah, there's two cuts. In fact, if you check out Kiss Anime, I believe they have both versions right now on the same one. If you look under the dub, it has the uncensored and the censored versions.
I might have to look at it just out of sheer curiosity.
Yeah, same
I
here.
think it's episode 15 is particularly bad.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm just not used to watching really brutal anime. I guess I think ReZero was the most brutal I had ever really watched, and then one of my friends introduced me to Future Diary, which came out in like 2010. Which that show is a bloodbath. Not only that, I mean, it's very uncensored in general, which I did not expect because I was told absolutely nothing about it when I started watching it.
Right. Well, I mean, there's other shows like that which kind of jump out at you if you're not warned about it ahead of time, like Elfen Lied. That one, my wife and I were sitting there like, oh, what are we gonna watch? Well, she liked another gory anime, Attack on Titan. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well, I've been hearing good things about Elfen Lied, so let's try that. So we put that on, and then within the first, 5 minutes, there's more nudity and destruction and death and gore than I'd seen in the entire Attack on Titan series. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll wait till the kids go to bed.
May not be a bad idea.
But then you got the censorship hasn't changed a lot. Like when I was growing up back in the day, anime was still called Japanimation by a lot of people, And the only real way to actually get anime was to either import it yourself or to watch one of the very few channels that would occasionally show it. And the Sci-Fi Channel, before it started to suck, actually had a series every weekend called Saturday Morning Anime. Or Saturday Anime, something like that, where they would show an OVA of some sort. And a lot of my favorite animes and anime styles came up from that time period, particularly with Battle Angel Alita, which is a brutal show. It's a great story, but it's a brutal one. Um, and like Tank Police, Dominion Tank Police, and some of those older ones. Oh, that's the first time I ever saw Akira. Was on Sci-Fi Channel back in the day, and that was the only way to get English dubbed anime. And then eventually, of course, they started, bringing in some of the older shows like what was it that what's that little robot kid with the star on his chest?
Oh, Astro Boy.
Astro Boy. It had like Astro Boy and Gigantor and Robotech, Macross, whichever you want to call it. And here's an interesting bit of trivia if you didn't know. The Robotech that we got in America was actually 3 shows spliced together.
Really?
Not even in the same universe.
Oh.
And they spliced it all together, dubbed it, and made it all one show. And it wasn't exactly seamless, but it worked pretty well. Look it up. It's interesting. Growing up watching all this stuff, anime, I realized that whether you censor it or not, I thought that anime in general was just better. It had better animation, better storylines, better quality. And keeping in mind, I grew up in the 80s, right? So I'm watching He-Man and She-Ra and Care Bears and Gen 1 My Little Pony and G.I. Joe and the original Transformers, Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, all the 80s staples. But they were all like really, really choppy, poorly written, poorly edited, poorly designed, and they didn't really think about what was actually appropriate for children either. I mean, if you look at the first villain in the very first My Little Pony, it's one of the most terrible creatures ever made. He became one of the season 4's big bad guy, Tyrek. He was much scarier in the very first movie.
Was that the dude that would suck out people's souls or whatever?
Yeah, it was the centaur demon thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, as I was saying to you, Nate, and everyone else in our mutual discussion group elsewhere, I'm really jealous of a lot of the kids these days and the quality of animation and storytelling that they're getting now, because we never had that growing up unless we went out of our way to find foreign-produced animation. And yes, I know it's just kind of a tangent away from the Pokemon and the Pokemon cartoon, but I kind of planned on talking about cartoons anyway because Patrick's not here, so he can't take us away from it. Anyway, I am really jealous of the new stuff these days. I mean, each of you know that cartoons are awesome nowadays. Most of them, some of them, a select few of them are very good.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was born in '97. So yeah, I'm young, but I grew up in the early 2000s, but everything that I grew up on was 90s and very late 80s. So I mean, I watched the Super Friends cartoon growing up, so I got about that. That was essentially, that kind of summarizes the kind of stuff I watched growing up. So even now, I'm just going back and binging stuff like early 2000s anime and Studio Ghibli movies, which I have.
Oh, Ghibli's amazing.
I have only seen 2 Studio Ghibli movies, and
Which ones?
The first, is Castle in the Sky and My Neighbor Totoro.
Okay, man, you've got to watch basically their entire collection, but there's a few that you have to watch quickly because they're important. Mononoke Hime, Princess Mononoke,
Right.
and you may or may not like it because it's not your era of book, but Secret Life of Arrietty, which is loosely based on the Borrowers series of novels. I enjoy that very much.
I had a friend who told me I was, I guess jokingly, but he said I was uncultured because I had never seen any of the Ghibli movies. So I just thought, all
Well, he
right,
wasn't lying.
I thought I'd go watch it. So I looked up Totoro because I had heard so much about it, and I watched it, and I thought that was amazing. I need to watch all of these.
You know, if you go to any decent import store, you can usually find a box set of everything up to like 2012. And like when I was living in Honolulu, there was an import store. I can't remember what it's called, but it was right next to the Pearl City Mall, Pearl Ridge Mall. And I bought this box set with all their movies, and I watched probably 30 of their productions in a row. And I can only say there's only one that I did not care for, and that was Porco Rosso.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think that's the one that Clancy Brown is in, the voice of Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob.
Yeah, well, guess what? Princess Mononoke, John DiMaggio's in it.
Oh, of course he is. That man has been in every single cartoon production, no matter like what it is, for the past 20 years.
Yeah. Well, you know what actually got me into Studio Ghibli to begin with, and Vince, you're welcome to jump in anytime.
I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Right. Well, the thing that actually brought me into Princess Mononoke and Studio Ghibli at large to begin with was back in the mid '90s. You know, I was an enormous X-Files fan, and I still am. But the wolf goddess, the big mother wolf, is actually voiced by what's her name? Played Scully. All of a sudden, her name escapes me. I don't know why that is. Gillian Anderson. Gillian Anderson voices one of the big spirit characters, and I absolutely, I've had a dork crush on her for a long, long, long time. So, I jumped into it, and then I'm like, this is amazing. And then I read all the reviews. People didn't appreciate it. People were laughing at it in the theaters in America. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? This movie's freaking amazing. And it was. But there were a few slightly over-the-top violence scenes that were, I guess today would be considered normal. But in the mid-90s, early 2000s, it seemed almost cartoonish. Which I suppose is appropriate given the medium, but it was a very serious scene, so it didn't make sense to me to laugh, but whatever. Yeah, I strongly encourage you to check out Princess Mononoke. It's very good. And then if you want to get the feels, man, Grave of the Fireflies.
Everybody that I have talked to about Ghibli has told me Grave of the Fireflies. It's like, if you want to die inside, then Grave of the Fireflies is what you want to watch.
Well, I wouldn't know about dying inside. I experienced that with ReZero and a couple others, maybe Madoka Magica, but no, it'll make you sit back and reevaluate your luxuries. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I really got to get on top of just binging through them.
I wouldn't even say binge. I'd say watch one a week so you have enough time to really soak it in, because some of these require repeated viewings just to really appreciate the amount of artistry and detail that goes into them. Like if you're like me and you're completely obsessive about finding like Easter eggs and things, like I'm the guy who will hunt through every frame to find the snail in Adventure Time. You sit through Spirited Away and look at all the different references from the different cultures, and it's amazing. Spirited Away is an amazing movie too.
Noted. Honestly, the only Ghibli movie I've seen is Howl's Moving Castle. So, I'm a little bit lost.
Well, there's another one coming to theaters here in a couple of months. I know that in December they re-released Princess Mononoke to the theaters. Can't remember which one it was that they're getting ready to put back out again.
I'll need to go see that in the theaters just for the experience of it.
Oh, you have to. You absolutely have to. I mean, it's if you have a good set of headphones, like good stereo headphones that block everything out and give you that sort of epic sound, that's what you need. You need a dark room, a big screen, and epic sound in your ears, because there's nothing in any of the Ghibli movies. It does not just absolutely demand your entire attention because it presents just epic storylines and beautiful art and gorgeous music.
Oh,
Except
de-
Porco Rosso, I hate that movie.
I definitely agree though. I when I watched Castle in the Sky, I watched it with my girlfriend and another friend. And whenever I watch movies with friends, I have a tendency to just kind of commentary over it or just kind of joke around. But by 10 minutes in, I just wasn't talking at all.
Yeah, well,
I was
if you're in my house watching Ghibli and you start talking, then you're not in my house anymore.
Nice.
Well, it's the truth. You must give the respect that this art deserves.
Oh yeah.
And there's other shows that you just it doesn't matter. Like you can talk through Ghost in the Shell all you want. I don't give a damn.
There was
Isn't there a Ghost in the Shell movie coming out?
Oh
Like
yeah.
a live action?
Yeah, it's what's her name? From,
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Everybody
a
was
lot of people are raising a fuss about that, but if you actually look at the show or the original movie and then the show, she looks exactly like the damn robot. What's the problem?
the people that were complaining about it. 90% of them have not actually seen the show or the movie. They just know that it was Japanese, and so they're like, she doesn't look Japanese.
Yeah, she's not Asian, so she can't play that character.
It's a robot. The robot has no ethnicity.
Ethnicity?
The robot, I mean,
Yeah.
she changes. She changes bodies in the damn movie.
Well, I've never seen it. I wouldn't know. So.
It's an okay movie. I haven't really got into the show because I wasn't too big on the movie either. But it is one of those ones that everyone has to see at some point. There's that list of essential anime that everybody has to watch at some point. Ghost in the Shell is on there at one point. Then you got your Cowboy Bebop, your Akira,
Right.
and some other stuff.
And you have Sword Art Online on there just so that you can make fun of it.
Yes.
Shut up your mouth.
No, I like the show. I enjoy it a lot. But like at this point, the only reason it's popular is because it's cool to make fun of it. And I hate that very much. I don't like that. That's what it's famous for.
Well, here's the thing about that. I've always had kind of a fondness for that in the virtual world kind of genre. I was big into Dot Hack when it was, first coming out, and I like that novel, Ready Player One.
Yes.
I like SAO. I like the idea, the concept. I mean, I used to enjoy Reboot. I didn't at first, and then I kind of got sucked into it. Like, I just like the whole idea of being in the virtual world. For some reason, that just really works for me. And then, I watched Serial Experiments Lane, and that just completely crushed me, and I couldn't watch it anymore until SAO came out.
Oh yeah, that was one of the things that I absolutely loved about it was just because I had never seen a show before with the whole trapped in a video game thing. I think I had watched some shows when I was younger where they had like an episode themed after that, but I had never seen a show dedicated to that before. And Sword Art was one of the first anime that I even really watched, so I loved it. I ate it to death.
Well, it's a good one because there's not a whole lot of fan service in there, so even the most prudish of people can enjoy it. It's got a fairly good story. The only thing that I really don't like about it is how they treat Asuna throughout the entirety of the series. Like, she's such a major part of the first, arc, and then she's just kind of in the background everywhere else. It's like, what's his name has a whole new female lead every series.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I really disliked just how, because she's a freaking amazing sword fighter, even as they displayed in the second season. But then in the second half of the first season, she's just kind of there, and it's like, oh, come save me, and like half of the scenes in the episode are her just in a cage talking to herself.
Right. It was frustrating.
Yeah. I kind of got this sort of a whimsical feeling from that whole show. I don't know what it was, but the whole show just kind of makes me feel sad, and I don't know why. Sort of an empty longing, and I can't explain it because it's such an uplifting deal. The dude doing whatever he can for love and what have you, and smashing monsters, and it's just like I don't know why. That was amplified a millionfold in ReZero actually. Up until Subaru turned into a Shinji Ikari type of character.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I know what you're meaning. Where when they were in the big royal hall area and he just starts talking to everybody.
Well, you know, you know who Shinji is, yeah.
I think so. The name rings a bell.
Um, Evangelion, the main character, little boy, just complete emo turd.
Oh yeah, okay. I've never seen it, but I know who you're talking about.
Okay, well, basically, half the time Subaru is your Steven Universe. Okay, he's super upbeat, he's poppy, he's happy, he makes you smile, and he goofs around a lot. The other half of the time, he's this wrist slitting emo freak, and about the only time I felt that he had an actual realistic human response was about halfway through the series after the first time he saw everybody dead in the mansion after
Oh
the
yeah,
cult of the witch showed up, and he just kind of went catatonic after his return by death.
yeah. I think
That was the only time that I felt he had an actual legit human response.
yeah, he must have, because that was the thing I was thinking through the whole show. Is man, this guy must have a very depressing life if he just suddenly finds himself in this other world and he's like, huh, guess this is my life now.
Mm.
Like,
Well,
just doesn't
I mean,
question it at all.
Well, this is the way I look at it. You have all the tropes that appear in that first episode of guy transported into a strange land, and I think they were just trying to get into the story without going through that whole oh my god, what happened to me sort of deal.
Right.
And I like how they addressed that, where he's like, oh, I better go find the one who summoned me. It's kind of like an Escaflowne type thing. Where the chick basically ends up running into the person who summons her, and she ends up saving the world. Blah blah blah. I really like how they address that in ReZero in comparison to a lot of other shows. Um, but again, you can't undercut the amount of just sheer brutality that happens to this kid, and it's a wonder that he doesn't lose it a lot quicker.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
I was amazed that it took him as long to shut down as he did. Because, I mean, after the first return by death, he was more just curious about it than he was horrified by, oh, I'm dead. I died. What happened?
Well, see, if you look at, was it like episode 2 or 3, he starts trying to apply rules to it, yeah? Like,
Right.
the first time, he died 3 times, and then he starts thinking, okay, well, I can only die 3 times.
I thought that was weird because that's a general rule. He dies 3 times. Like most, I think most of the times that he's had to reset, he dies 3 times, and then almost gets it right on the second to last try. And then when he dies again, he gets it right, and it's all fine. Or to what extent? I just thought that was weird because like the show goes by that rule, but that was never really established. He just kind of made that up and.
Well, I mean, I think that it's a mistake in the writing. He becomes a little bit predictable. Although the attack against the cult of the witch was not as predictable as I expected it to be. Like, I thought it was over until, that point where the wagon blew up in the middle of the town, and I'm like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
man, he screwed up again, and he's gonna have to go through. He's gonna have to fight the whale again, and he's gonna have to. I'm like, I don't want to sit through another whale fight. Come on.
And then it just pops up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm back here again."
Yeah.
I
But
did
the
like how they.
brutality,
I did like how they did shake it up. They, even though they got you to a point where you're thinking, "Okay, I know what's gonna happen," and then they shake it up again. You're, oh,
Or like
It's
when Ram attacked him and his buddies,
oh,
they come into the
goodness.
village. Now, see, that's another thing. I thought that I take it back. He's had one other human response, and that was after he realized that it was Rem that killed him,
Oh, right.
where he was basically terrified of him when he woke up. And yeah, so anyway, if any of you haven't seen it, Vince, have you watched that show?
I have not, unfortunately. It is
Oh,
on my
you better
to-watch
watch
list.
it
I
right
need
Well,
to.
now. Bump it up to the top. Seriously, I binged it in literally a day.
I apologize
I
for
couldn't stop.
apologize for spoiling most of it for you.
That's okay. I think
Oh,
I'll
it
live.
doesn't matter. We can spoil it. It doesn't matter. It all changes in 5 minutes anyway after he dies.
That's true.
But that sort of unbridled brutality you don't actually find in Western animation much, except in your shows like Family Guy or American Dad or whatever, and usually
Right.
it's off screen. But I was watching Gumball the other day after we had our discussion about the Chinese knockoff.
Oh yeah.
And man, see, I have a particular fondness for Chinese knockoffs, and that has to do with the fact that I speak Chinese. I spent a lot of time in China and Japan, Singapore, all over Asia, bouncing around during my time in the Navy, and it amuses me when I see mock-ups of American stuff done in the Chinese style, and it really amused me to see the direct rip-off that was Miracle Star. Okay, and so you know the Twitterverse or whatever got really, really crazy about it when they realized that this advertisement, Miracle Star, and that's what it is actually. It's not a cartoon. It's an advertisement in cartoon form selling goat's milk. Um, yeah, the name of the
Nice.
cartoon is Miracle Star, and it's selling goat's milk in a can called Miracle Star.
That is
But
amazing.
so all the clever internet people who just routinely, I guess, search for ripoffs in China somehow. I don't know why. They send clips of this show to Ben. What's his name? Ben Croquet, or however you say. I don't know how you say his name. The guy who created Amazing World of Gumball. And he's like, yeah, cool, whatever. Thanks for showing me. And then, this season, just a couple days back, they introduced an episode called The Copycats, where they ripped the Miracle Star characters off of Miracle Star and put them in Gumball style in the Gumball universe. Now, let's go ahead and point out the fact that, again, this is not just a rip-off in style or a rip-off in substance. This is a direct, shot-for-shot, story-for-story rip-off of The Amazing World of Gumball. And
Oh yeah. There's a video I saw where they took the episode where he has the DVD he needs to return, and they just put it side by side, and even like the movements and the mannerisms of the characters were straight up just one and the same.
Right. And so what they did was they took these characters and they changed them and they introduced them to one another. And it turns out that each one of these characters does exactly what the actual Gumball characters do after they do it. And then they get pissed off about it and they go through this whole plot to, change them, and it doesn't work. So ultimately what happens is they end up brutally murdering them, which, they don't say they murdered him, but it's pretty clear that they're either dead or so disfigured they can't do anything else. They're gone.
Yeah, and I like how they just brushed it off too. They're just like, oh well, they're too horribly disfigured to make their show anymore.
Right, and that was a level of darkness I was not prepared to go to with Gumball. I mean, that this is a show that has had some deep kind of messages in some of its show, and everybody knows Gumball is not a good person. Darwin is meaning well. Darwin is a well-meaning character, but he's not all that great either because he still follows Gumball. But this whole family is a group of ne'er-do-wells who are just, frankly, not good people. And they do some stuff that is questionable at best, during the course of the series. But I never figured they would go that far to straight-up murdering. And this wasn't just like a simple we're gonna get rid of them. This was a detailed conspiracy designed to just absolutely destroy and decimate this whole family of characters. And what really made me sad about it is that it succeeded, because I thought it would be really interesting to keep these characters in the world, if only just to piss off the Miracle Star people, but also because I actually really enjoyed Chi-Chi and the mother. The father was kind of ugly, and the little Darwin knockoff was kind of ugly too.
He was kind of creepy, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm so used to Darwin not having fingers and toes that seeing the fingers and toes was a bit much for me. But yeah, so the I was really upset that they got rid of him because I would like to have seen more fights between the mother and Nicole.
That would have been cool because I liked the way that they showed the equality of how their fighting styles were in that one episode. They're just like blow for blow doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And plus, I thought it would have been funny for them to do the chicken fight style of thing from Family Guy
Oh
with
yeah.
the other Watersons. That would have been hilarious. Just have like entire halves of the episode with Gumball and Chi-Chi just fighting through the whole town.
Yeah, well, see, I'm just thinking there's so many other things they could do. Like, I mean, granted, they may not have actually killed them. Granted, they may have just hurt them or got them knocked off the air or whatever. Let's say in the future, say next season, perhaps, you could have the Misami's mother teaming up with Chi-Chi's mother and have Chi-Chi himself, the goat kid, teaming up with that fluffy rainbow kid. What's his name? Um, I can't remember his name, but the guy who's always causing trouble. Um, Come on, you know his name. Tell me his name before I forget.
Um,
Wears a sweatband on his head.
I know who you're talking about. Gosh dang it.
Well, anyway, that guy.
Yeah, the little rainbow cloud idiot. Why not? All right,
Or
time
maybe
to
not
Google.
Misami's mother. Maybe
to
not
Google.
Misami's mother. Yeah, you Google that. Say Misami's mother actually made up with Nicole. So let's say that the Rainbow Kid and his mother team up with the Chi-Chi family in order to cause problems for Gumball and his family.
Right.
And I could see like this intense rivalry going on like over the course of several episodes, kind of like Rob when he went bad.
Oh yeah.
And I mean it would be great to have new villains because Rob is not. I mean he was a fun villain, but he's back on the side of at least neutral, right? After the Void and the remote control episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really hope they do something with them again, but I really doubt that they're going to.
Oh, what is it? Tobias is the.
That's
one.
right, Tobias. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say okay, so Tobias and Chi-Chi kidnap Penny, and Gumball and Darwin have to rescue her, and etc. Like Tobias is just trying to play a prank, but it turns out Chi-Chi's actually malevolence. I mean, I
Right.
just see all sorts of great stuff happening there, and
I don't know.
Gumball.
Cartoons are just getting a lot more. I think, like you said, like with the darkness, they're just getting not necessarily more realistic. I don't want to say, but they seem to deal with more real to life things.
Right.
Like I don't know if I'm explaining what I mean correctly. Like in
I know what you're talking about.
like in Adventure Time, that's a good episode. A good example whenever Finn and Bubblegum like kind of broke ties, and whenever Finn first met Flame Princess, like
Right.
that was it was legit showing him as being depressed, which I didn't expect going into it.
Well, no, Finn doesn't get real depressed until after he breaks up with Phoebe.
Right.
That whole arc actually after Flame Princess becomes Flame King, it kind of turned me off of the show a little bit because it was always so damn emo.
Right.
Like
I just
Music Hole, that episode, Music Hole.
oh yeah, after
Oh,
the
that one made me just
episode-
want to. Yeah, that one just made me want to, cut my wrists in the bathtub.
Well, all right, that was a little dark, but
Well, it
But yeah,
was.
yeah, like you were saying though, it is something that I didn't expect just because the show is very lighthearted and it just tackled a lot of just very real to life type of stuff, and it gave genuine solutions for it. Like I can't remember what exactly it was about, but I was really depressed at one point my first year of college, I think it was just because I had lived in Georgia for so long, and after moving around in the Air Force, when I finally got my ties set down, and then we finally moved again, and so I had basically no friends and knew absolutely no one up in Illinois. So I just got kind of depressed and didn't really talk to anybody. And that's when I started binging through Adventure Time. And there was the episode where they had that knife storm, and so they were all locked inside.
The imagination, yeah.
And Finn was Finn was saying something about how he was upset because he lost. I think it was either Flame Princess or Flame Princess or Princess Bubblegum or somebody. But Jake's just like, you see this mug? This is my favorite mug. I love it. It's one of my favorite possessions. And then he just chucks it out the window, and he's like, all right, it doesn't exist anymore. I don't care about it. And it was such a silly explanation, but for some reason it hit me really deep. And I was like, that's a really good way of dealing with that. And so it helped pick me up a lot.
Adventure Time is full of the feels, though, man. I mean, there is no American or Canadian, as the case may be, series which actually puts me in a funk more frequently than Adventure Time does.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. After I binged Islands, the little miniseries they just came out with, I got my girlfriend into the show, and she's like 4 seasons behind me. And so I just essentially started ranting to her with very vague explanations because I didn't want to spoil it for her. But I'm just like, I can't deal with this. This is way too much.
Yeah, well, I hope they bring Martin back, at least in some capacity, because I want him to get some sort of, I don't know, what's the word, not resolution, but vindication.
Right.
Like maybe somehow, Finn will see into his memories or something and realize that he wasn't abandoned.
Right. Like explain what happened, and so he's not just a huge bum lord that blew him off and was like, oh yeah, I don't care. You can just be an orphan.
Yeah. A lot of these shows. Go ahead, Vinny.
No, I was just gonna say we can add that to the list of shows that I have not watched.
Adventure Time is one of those. You either usually every experience I've had is people really love it, or they just don't care for it that much and it doesn't interest them. It's one of those that you have to kind of set in your mind, like, I'm gonna finish watching this, because they're on their, what season are they on now, Jimmy? Like 7?
8.
They're on season 8 right now, so it takes a good amount of binging to get through it.
Yeah.
Well, let me go ahead and add to that the first couple of seasons are not really well plotted out as far as backstory. So you kind of have to get through probably about 4 hours of it before you're comfortable with the way the feeling of the show is itself. Because the early episodes are really kind of scatterbrained. Like when I watched the very first episode that was aired, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this can't be the first episode. I don't know who any of these characters are or what the hell is going on. And all of a sudden we're talking about candy zombies invading the castle. Like, I'm supposed to already know that he's the hero's sidekick, that's the princess, and all these people, we should care about them. I didn't start really recognizing the characters until they started to develop that backstory. So if you can get past like the LSD-induced scatterbrain mind trip that is the first several episodes of the first season, then you should be fine.
That was one thing
that's noted.
That was one thing I loved about it, though. Strangely enough, it was one of my favorite things. Was it had a very unique form of storytelling that was where it just kind of threw you into the world, and it taught you about it by just kind of telling little mini stories, like with Marceline, the Vampire Queen. She's very deeply involved with a lot of the other character stories, but they just kind of threw her into one episode and introduced her as a villain, and then she just kind of turned into a more of a scary background character, and then over time developed into this character. You're like, oh man, I feel really bad for her.
Yeah, and she was always just messing with us to begin with. She never really wanted to cause any problems.
I just liked how they taught you about the characters and the world by just kind of introducing you like one little bit at a time, and then started getting into the lore once you were familiar with the world.
Right, and the thing is, it's really hard to be familiar with the world because there are so many different kingdoms that do so many different things.
Right.
And, you know, like, I'm still not sold on the whole 4 elements. You know, ice, fire, candy, and slime.
Like candy is one of the 4 elements. I love that. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, but, you know, Adventure Time is one of many of the new shows, and it's not really a new show anymore, but the new wave of shows that is moving away from the full 30-minute story and going into the little vignette style. The 15-minute with commercials, closer to 11 minutes without. You know, and included in that same grouping is Loud House, Gumball, Adventure Time, Metalocalypse. Although that's a different brand of cartoon altogether, it's the same sort of concept. And I'm not sure that a lot of these shows are well served by being such short stories. I think it was you, Nate, who said that you didn't really get into Loud House because it was like too fast paced.
It was fast paced, and it also just felt really predictable. Like,
Right.
I would watch episodes, and it just felt like 5 minutes in, they would kind of start showing what the plot was, and I would just guess off the top of my head. And I have very terrible deduction skills, if that gives you any clue. But I would just say, like, okay, this is probably where this is going, and it did exactly that. Like one where he just wanted to read his own comics or whatever, but his sisters kept interrupting him, so he buys these earplugs, and then everybody keeps coming in to his room, and he's just answering them off the top of his head, not really listening to what they're saying. And I'm thinking,
Right.
Okay, they're probably going to mess with him and make him do something, even though they didn't really say anything, and they're just going to get him at the end. It's going to be a lesson about listening to people. I fully did not expect that to happen, but that was exactly what happened.
Well, now, you know, Loud House, the one thing I will say is that it is very predictable in most cases, and it has a lot of the 80s sitcom tropes, which I'm okay with, though, because the characters are fun. The thing that got me about it, that took me a while to get into it, was the fact that, much like Adventure Time, it just kind of throws you right into it, and you have to learn the characters as you go, and there's just so many characters, and they're always all right there.
Right.
So it's like you have to go through and like, okay, who's that again? Okay, what is her shtick? Okay, okay. Like, you know, it wasn't until season 2 that they stopped doing that whole Charlie Brown thing and actually showed the parents' faces.
Oh yeah, like the thing that they used to do in what was it, Cow and Chicken or whatever, where the parents were never seen above the shoulders.
I wouldn't know because I hated that particular show.
Yeah, I never watched it.
The shows with that particular animation style and that sort of implied this is going to be a gross out humor kind of show. If it wasn't Ren and Stimpy or Rocco's Modern Life, I wasn't really interested.
Yeah,
And even then, Rocco was better than Ren and Stimpy for me as far as watching it, because at least with Rocco, I knew that there might be a show without gross out in it.
they are they're making a reboot of Rocco's Modern Life. I didn't know if you knew that.
I think I'd heard something about it, and I got to tell you, I'm not sure that I'm so happy with that idea.
That seems to be the trend upcoming with both movies, cartoons, shows in general. They're just bringing back old stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what was a good reboot was the new version of Thundercats.
Oh,
Far
I
vastly
loved that
superior.
show.
Way vastly superior to the original.
I got really hooked on that, but they just kind of canceled it halfway through.
Right.
Yeah, well, it wasn't getting the ratings, and it cost a lot, man. I mean, they were going for the nostalgia vibe, I think, and you know they did that recently with Voltron too, and I enjoyed Voltron as a kid, but I haven't bothered with the new one because I'm just like I didn't like it that much.
You should. I'm one that I didn't really watch Voltron as a kid growing up, but this new series on Netflix is fantastic. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Well, then I will add it to my list.
Yes, I would.
That's like
See,
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to think what the next next show on my list is as far as animation, and I think it's going to be Dragon Maid, which I've heard funny things about, but I'm not sure yet. It's another one of those kind of slice of life dealies with a random weird character popped in for fun, kind of like Oh My Goddess or Tenchi Muyo.
Yeah.
Something in that vein. At least that's how I understand it.
Right on. Well,
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just thinking about we've been going for about an hour, so I was thinking about thinking about wrapping up. If you guys are ready.
Oh yeah, I'm all good.
Okay.
I'm good to go, but I'm always down for talking about cartoons.
Right there with you.
Love it. Yeah, and this is one of those conversations that if we let it, we could talk about cartoons for hours.
Oh yeah,
or
definitely.
You two could, and I could sit here and listen the whole time.
Oh yeah, sorry. We didn't mean to shut you out.
No.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
No, bro. This happens every week. Trust me. No, it is all good. So anyway, let's wrap it up here. I think that's a good spot to end. Plus, I got somewhere I got to be real quick. Anyway, Jimmy, where can we find you on the internet?
Well, aside from here, you can still find me on Twitter at IMHOhost. The political posting service that I do, which is usually just me making comments on things. I haven't been as active on it as usual lately because I've been really busy, and I'm still working on getting the panel together for that discussion podcast, and I still have yet to find a progressive or a liberal or an Antifa or a socialist or anything to come join us who isn't an absolute, nutter.
Good word.
Well, what I want to say wasn't very politic. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Right.
So that is still on. I wouldn't say on hold. It's still in the works. But until I have the full panel, I can't actually get into that. Aside from that, you can find me here. You can hunt for me on Facebook, but you may not like what you see. I'm not very pretty. If you really want to find me, you can find my pony page on Facebook. But again, I don't want you to look at that because then you'll think less of me. But
some maybe.
Yeah, I know it's you, Vince.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I am quite boring.
Right on. Nathan, where can we find you?
About the only thing I'm really active on is my probably my Twitter, which you can find me at tag is Captain Bronze, which is CPT _ and then the word bronze. I mostly just talk about gaming news. That's about the extent of what I do, and just post memes because I'm one of those people.
Memes are awesome.
Yeah, those people are fine as long as it's the right kind of memes. There's some memes lately that just don't deserve discussion.
I try to stay away from the bandwagons, the one that people just like mass produce. I'm like, nah, you got to put time and effort into it. If the love's not there, then it's just not funny.
Yes.
Well, just do me a favor and tell me that you avoid frogs.
I try to.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I do want to say thank you for having me on. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Well,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
enjoyed it,
We'll do it again.
Probably invite you back at some point.
You enjoyed it
because
we talked about cartoons.
Hey, nobody asked you, Vince. Hush.
I love it. And as always, you can find me Twitter at Chapman _Vince. On Facebook, you can follow me at Vince Chapman Writes. You can find me right here on the podcast where I listen in on discussions intently. And as always, you can follow our Twitter, join the rivalry, and we are associated with Crossforge Gaming. They have we have a Facebook group that you should go join. I believe we have a Twitter and a YouTube channel that you should look up also. So I think that's going to do it for us.
Well, let's not forget Patrick. I know he's not here, but everybody can listen to his madcap ranting at Salty Luchadork.
Salty Luchadork on Twitter. That is true.
Everything else doesn't matter. That's just an amazing name. I still love it.
It's-
It is. The luchador mask will never get old. So, anyway, thanks for listening. It was a fun episode. It was fun for me to listen to anyway. So anyway, we will catch you later.
You there, Otter Pop?